Hello, and welcome to another episode of Choral Arts Initiative Behind the Notes. You'll be hearing more about the process of creating From Wilderness, a new concert-length work by Jeffrey Derus. We'll also be sharing more from our rehearsal that we recorded before we had to stop our activities due to the coronavirus pandemic. If you enjoy what you're hearing, please consider making a donation to Choral Arts Initiative at choralartsinitiative.org. Your support will help us be able to not only premiere this work when we're finally able to sing together in person, but also to record it and release it commercially as well. Now, please enjoy our preview of From Wilderness, Behind the Notes. First run through can sometimes be absolutely exhilarating and also a little terrifying. I was wondering, Jeff, what were your feelings? Were you there for that first Saturday?
I was. The experience was very similar. I mean, as a composer, you're with this piece either digitally or on the piano or just in your mind for so long, and hearing voices put to the music, I had a very similar experience. Even though everything wasn't perfectly correct or perfectly expressed, it was still a very fulfilling experience to have the choir, the choir that I've been singing with for 8 years. I've been a part of this group as a singer. So I think that also gave me somewhat of an advantage. I know their voices, I know what they love, I know what works well with them, but that Saturday was a very moving day for me as well.
Yeah, and it to speak to what you just said about knowing our voices, we could tell that it really felt like you wrote it for us, and we could tell as we were singing it because it just felt so natural to sing it, and it felt good to sing it. And not all music feels like that. It'll sound good from an audience perspective, but for the singer, it can be a difficult experience sometimes. From new music to the music of the masters, and it really felt good. And again, just to reiterate that, it felt like we had been singing it and knew that music already.
because again, Jeff has been with us, and a lot of new choral music, there's a lot of it, and we've championed a lot of it, but there's quite often I come across choral music where it has to be negotiated with rather than just sung right away. There's a lot of extraneous load to kind of cut through. And, just as programming concerts, I'm always trying to keep that in mind, what's going to communicate directly with the audience. And so with Jeff's piece, it's an incredibly well-written piece in the sense that it provides an immediate entryway, not just for the singers, as you're hearing from Lorraine, but also from the audience and also for the conductor. Like, there's just an immediate connection to it, which is really fantastic. And that's a really exciting type of new music to bring to life.
Yeah, I mean, and I've only gotten to hear it in rehearsal. I wasn't there for this opening rehearsal that we've been discussing, but hearing it recently, I can say it absolutely, that sense of family, of everybody sort of knowing this music inside and out because they all know the people involved so well. I think that really came across. It was beautiful to see. So I want to ask sort of a composer question for Jeffrey, which is, in this piece, were there any techniques or musical ideas that you were trying out for yourself, maybe something that was new that you hadn't done before, or just things that you really wanted to explore musically?
Yeah, ever since I've gotten that composer bug when I was in high school and throughout college, I've always wanted something to be a part of my music that was more atmospheric, not in the sense of abstract sounds and textures, but just something that felt that there was this emotion in the room, there was this feeling in the room. And so with this piece, since you're on this journey in the Pacific Crest Trail, your scenery is always changing because you're constantly moving through that trail. And so I wanted the texture to change throughout the piece through every micro movement to large movement, but also I wanted it to feel that it was connected, but also you're traveling through something. So every stop felt a little different. It had a different texture. It had a different feeling. And to really contribute to that was this use of the crystal singing bowls. And that is something that I have never worked with before. Came across it in Palm Springs at this healing shop, and I fell in love with the sound. It's this very celestial, soothing sound, and there's not too many articulations that go along with the bowl, but there's these sound baths that present themselves in a healing setting for anyone who wants to have some kind of healing, and I wanted to incorporate that in the work. And so there's these micro movements in between the major stops of the trail. opening text is, "And you, when will you begin that long journey into yourself?" And so I'm really inviting the audience to come into this concert with more of an aspect and goal that they will give themselves over to the music in a sense, not just having a wash of sound over them, but really inviting them to experiment or experience with just self-meditation. And this whole thing is really about healing. And everyone, I've been reading blogs and books on the trail, and everyone who's gone through the whole trail has really come out a different person in some way, shape, or form. And so I wanted that to kind of happen for the audience as well. But the sound bath, that's like the really cool quality that I think hasn't been done really before, and also is really very new for me. So figuring out with the choir and with Brandon has been really experimental but fun.
Yeah, I wanted to just add, the piece, there's so much about the piece and reflecting the Pacific Crest Trail. And the Pacific Crest Trail has this aspect about how the people that go through the Pacific Crest Trail, as you said, are changed for the better through struggle, because they have to hike through difficult terrain and heat, and they have to go through something to get through to the other end, to reach sort of a nirvana, right? And they reach that self-realization, and they reach beauty, really, and they become more appreciative of what's surrounding them and of their own life. And I think that is such a powerful message for the times that we're living through now. I think that is really, really appropriate.
There's another element that we haven't discussed in this piece, which is the solo cello. And I'm a cellist. I love hearing the cello blended with the choir. It's an amazing sound. We have a great cellist, Kevin Mills, who's joined us for this performance. Jeffrey, is there any significance as to why you chose the cello? And maybe you could describe its role in the piece?
Yeah, I've always loved the cello. It's been, just like you, one of my favorite instruments with chorus. I think it can really weave in and out of the choir very beautifully. It has an extensive range, a warm timbre, but I really wanted it to just be kind of an extension of the choir and making movement of certain sections of the work. Nothing too particular for why I chose it, but it's a glorious instrument with voice, and so are these crystal singing bowls. And so I think the three really harmoniously come together. And yeah, and our amazing cellist, Kevin Mills, he's fabulous, and it's going to be a beautiful performance.
Yeah, absolutely. And I suppose now is a good time to mention again that we're not just working towards the performance of this piece, but there will be a recording made, Choral Arts Initiative's second album, and it's going to feature the entirety of From Wilderness. So this piece is going to be very well documented, and we hope that you will all be there with us for that part of the journey as well. So you can go to choralartsinitiative.org and follow along with updates on the progress of that. And yeah, just stay connected, because you're going to want to be able to hear and experience this piece. We hope you've enjoyed this special preview of From Wilderness. We have more to share from this incredible work, so please stay tuned for more episodes of Behind the Notes in the coming weeks. Again, if you would like to support Choral Arts Initiative and our efforts to bring this incredible work to the stage and to record it, please consider making a donation at choralartsinitiative.org. We hope to be able to be back together singing for you in person very soon. But until then, stay safe and be well.